Okay, good afternoon to all. We are here for the first module of training of the Horizon Europe BRIDGESMEs project. This is on immersive future, so how the use of emerging technologies such as virtual reality, XR, digitalization, and the rise of the Metaverse can help SMEs to develop new services, new products, and to become more competitive in the global market. So the aim of the project, just to mention it one more time, is to support SMEs in 5 industrial sectors. And this training module is focused on cultural and creative industries and tourism SMEs. So I'm very happy to welcome all the participants and also, of course, our valued speakers of today. We will have interventions from researchers from the CNR National Research Council Institute of Heritage Science, and we will also have interventions from SME Meta organization Sam Minelli. So you will be able also to introduce yourself and your work while introducing your presentation. And now, without further delay, I would like to invite the first speaker. This is Eva Pietroni, my colleague at the CNR. She's Director of Research at the CNR, and she will talk about multisensory museums, hybrid realities, storytelling, and technological innovation. So, Eva, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you, Antonia and Silvia, for inviting me and my colleagues in our laboratory. We work in the Digital Heritage Innovation Lab at the Institute of Heritage Science. So we work together, at least Bruno, Enzo, and I work together. We are part of the same team, and we have made a lot of projects together in more than 15 years. I share my screen. So I am a research director in the Institute of Heritage Science. We work in the field of digitization and valorization of cultural heritage, dealing with virtual museums. That means a lot of activities like field work, survey on territories inside museums, in archaeological sites, and 3D modeling, virtual reconstruction, software development, and experience design, and so on. So we are used to collaborate with public institutions like museums, of course, but also Ministry of Culture, and also with creative industries. We usually collaborate with the cultural industries and creative industries to realize our project. So we partially develop inside our laboratories, but we also collaborate with the private sector. So I would like to spend some words about multisensory museum, which are conceived as extended or hybrid spaces where the real and the virtual coexist. This means that the real collection, the real content can be enhanced and valorized through the use of virtuality, of digital contents collection to engage the audience in more involving experiences, both at cognitive and emotional level. We think that multisensory approach can greatly increase accessibility, of course, because we can deliver content through different perceptual channels, but also they can increase the emotional involvement. And we really believe that emotions are a fundamental part in cultural transmission and in learning processes. We are scientists, so we should work on analysis, interpretation, formal studies, but our experience led us to really believe that emotions are a very powerful part in this kind of processes. And we also deal daily with the sense of authenticity. How can a multisensory dimension affect the sense of authenticity while we visit a museum, and how is the sense of authenticity changing in today's audiences, in cultural experiences, in cultural media, and of course also inside museums. So these are some key topics. Of course, multisensory museum is a multidisciplinary domain, because when we want to involve all the senses in perception, in narration, storytelling, and in the interaction, we deal with a multiplicity of disciplines and issues. We can connect objects, places, actors, stories, users, and we deal with the different dimensions, as I was saying before, analytical, formal, interpretative, and imaginary, creative dimensions. We really believe that the virtual, we believe in the cybernetic approach, where what is really important is not the digital replica of a cultural context or a cultural object, but what matters is the interaction process. We have a digital content, and what can we do with this digital representation? The most important thing is the interaction and the creation of a dynamic and open space for interaction and experience. So this is close to the contemporary concept of heritage digital twin, that is not only the digital replica with the sensors and so on of the real object, but it is the network of information, interpretative layers that are connected with the object. This is the heritage digital twin in a very shared sense. I personally believe that the traditional formal descriptive approach inside museums should be replaced or accompanied by a dramaturgical approach. We should try to create a dramaturgy of cultural heritage, and where the alternation and exchange between the real experience and the virtual experience can create a difference and a redundancy, and thus they can produce an enhanced learning. In this case, in this screen, you can see a very old project from our laboratory that was through scanning, but it is very nice to and it is perfect to introduce this concept. Here we have 3 different contexts regarding the Regolini Galassi tomb. It's an Etruscan famous tomb in Cerveteri, which is today not accessible. It's empty, while the rich funerary good is preserved in the Vatican Museum, and without any kind of digital support. There are only traditional captions. And so we realized together with the museum this project where we tried to reconstruct the tomb as it was originally in the 7th century BC, recontextualizing the funerary good. But what is interesting here is that this installation was put close to the collection, to the real collection, in a room aside. And the visitor could live an immersive experience through gesture-based interaction inside the virtual reconstruction, accompanied by dramatic storytelling. So not a description, but something very involving. I can just try to show you a few moments. Here we are not in the Vatican Museum, but it's another installation in the Festival of Science.
When we were laid to rest in our palace, our women beat their breasts and lamented loudly our departure from the world of the living. They left us these small statues, placed in our tomb to continue mourning our lost lives, even when all rest.
And so on. Just to give you an impression, I hope that you could perceive sounds as well as images. So, of course, even in a multisensory museum, we have to consider which are the three main phases of cultural transmission. This is the theory of cultural communication. We have a first level of comprehension, that is the identification of the objects that are exhibited inside the museum. And for this kind of level, for this first level, virtual or real restoration can be very useful to let people understand even those objects that are fragmented. Then we have a second level, that is the contextualization, let's say to try to connect the cultural object to its original or even not original context of belonging. And in this case, virtual reconstruction can be very useful. And the final level is the transmission of the symbolic meaning of the object, that is very challenging. In this case, storytelling, narration can be very useful, because we progressively travel through three steps, three different conditions: the perception, interaction, and narration. So another topic that is very discussed today is the user-centered approach. We see that in our society, the users are more and more important in communication. So the traditional authorial approach is now decreasing in favor of a more centered, an approach centered on users, and also the multiplication of perspectives in telling stories is really important in order to collect individual dimension, perspective, local and global. So new communities are growing up, also thanks to social media that are connected to museums and so on. So There are some, of course, criteria that should be considered in the experience design inside the museum. That is, the contents, provided content should be useful, original. They have to satisfy a real need of users. They must be credible, usable, accessible, findable, so fair principle, and they should be also desirable, so they should arise emotions. And these are some questions for you, some topics on which it is important to reflect. That is, for instance, in a multisensory museum, what kind of experience would you like to live? Which senses would you like to involve? For instance, sound. The sound contents are still a problem inside museums because they are difficult to manage. They usually suffer of very poor technologies, and they are not considered by curators and museum staff, but of course they could be very powerful because sound is connected to cultural identity, to storytelling, to emotion, to multi-sensory communication. So this is still an open issue. Would you like to enjoy sound content during a visit? And which technologies would you prefer? Earphones or something diffused in the environment? And how could you manage sound content? How much interaction would you like? And this is an important question because in our story of researchers, we have studied and experimented a lot of solutions to introduce interaction during the cultural experience in museums. We have tested a lot of systems of interfaces, of metaphor. But if you go in a museum that is attended by a lot of people, like, I don't know, Uffizi or museums in Siena. I was recently in Siena, and there was so many public, so huge flow of public that interaction is impossible. So we should consider this. And maybe interaction is not always a proper solution, or at least it should be really considered very carefully. And would you like to interact with other visitors, or do you prefer to live an intimate experience? So all these questions affect the multisensory design of the museum, of course. And also, the multisensory approach affects the sense of authenticity. What makes an experience authentic? The feeling of authenticity is changing in our society. So, also in this sense, it is important to query ourselves. The sense of authenticity has been studied during a recent project in our laboratory, that is the Perceive project, with the survey and the specific studies. And what emerged is that it is based on 3 pillars. The individual dimension, that is that something foreign becomes familiar and touches our emotion, memories and ideas, and so it's connected to the self-perception and identity. A second pillar is the social dimension. If we are able to synchronize our feelings, emotions and thoughts with a community, the sense of authenticity will be enhanced. And finally, what is important, the third pillar, is the environment, the external environment, where we are, where our self is included. The museum, the cyberspace, the metaverse, and so it is connected with the digital environment design, with the digitization techniques, the quality of contents, the virtual reconstruction, the way to provide virtual reconstruction. And so this is like a summary of what is connected with sense of authenticity and embodiment. Embodiment is another keyword. For instance, the immersion in an interactive multidimensional space, the multi-channel and multisensory stimulation. These are all elements enhancing the sense of embodiment, the graphic realism, the soundscape, the possibility to interact with the object manipulation through our gestures, and so mid-air gesture-based interaction or tangible interfaces, engaging and emotional storytelling, and also the interaction with the other users, maybe in the digital domain. But also, for instance, the randomness and the unexpected events that can arise our sense of wonder. And of course, the sense of authenticity is connected to the scientific reliability of contents. We have experimented a lot of systems of visual metaphors to make interpretative processes explicit in our virtual reconstruction, trying to codify through colors the different levels of reliability of virtual reconstruction. So multisensory approach doesn't mean something fake, but it should be accompanied by a very rigorous methodology. And this is the case of Monument, where we can use different colors to inform the users about what are the existent structures still inside, or on the site, sorry, or what is reconstructed through anastylosis methodologies, or what is reconstructed through comparisons, for instance. And the same we experimented also in the case of storytelling. We tried to map a story with the different levels of reliability. Some contents are based on the archaeological evidence, some other contents are based on the cultural context and the contextual evidence, and other contents are more evocative. They're based only on historical and cultural comparisons, for instance. So this was an experiment made on an archaeological artifact. Sorry. Okay, another important issue is the evaluation of the user experience. We usually carry out surveys on users and visitors inside museums in order to evaluate the real impact of digital contents and digital installation, evaluating different kind of characteristics of the digital installation, their attraction, usability, educational potential, social behavior, memorization, and so on. I want to show you, just if I have a few minutes, an example of a holographic showcase. This is the concept. It's a movie showing the concept beyond this kind of installation, where you have really an understanding of how real and virtual can interact inside the museum.
Eva,
Sorry.
you have just 5 minutes more.
Okay, perfect. This proposal deals with a communication approach that can be adopted in presence of the artifacts along the path of visit of a museum. Main components are holographic showcases, wall in plasterboard where the showcases are integrated, lights, video projector and support, audio speakers, Arduino. The system needs to be designed for showcases with controlled dimensions, as the holographic equipment needs to be hidden, otherwise the magic effect is compromised. Since the installation uses technique of illusion, full control of the environmental lights is mandatory. Probably it is better to include in this room only objects integrated in the installation, not other objects. The visitor has to position himself in front of the holographic projection to enjoy its best effect. For these reasons, it is preferable to have a small room or isolated space that we can control completely. Around 15 square meters is fine. Now, a demonstration of the installation and of the user experience will be shown. In this demo, the holographic showcase is built on a 42 inches screen. Dimensions of the showcases are 88 by 70 by 60 centimeters. The experience is composed by three main phases. First phase, wait. All the objects in the showcase are enlightened uniformly. The users move along the showcases looking freely at the objects. The duration is approximately 60 seconds. The lights in the showcase switch off. Everything becomes dark. Only one object remains visible with the spotlight on it. Visitors will move backward. Second phase, total vision. Fragments of a bigger image start to appear on the projection wall. Every fragment germinates and expands on the wall. Similarly, the soundscape grows up progressively. At the end of this transition, the whole image is revealed on the wall. The composition currently includes and contextualizes the original object, still visible in the showcase. The real object in the showcase is then replaced by its virtual replica, appearing in the same position with possible virtual restoration. The scene gets alive and dramatization starts. Use of actors is possible.
My wife and I welcome you to our tomb. When we were buried so many years ago, it was a landmark, a large...
The last frame of the animation will reset the point of view as it was at the beginning. Duration of the dramatization, 1.5 to 2 minutes. Fragments of the image on the wall disappear, one after the other. Similarly, the soundscape. Third phase, analytic vision. The spotlight on the real object is on. The other objects are still dark. The user gets forward to look at the object. Optimal distance from the showcase is 1.5 meters. In this showcase, an holographic projection starts, overlapping the real object or just beside or around it. This projection lets the visitor to perceive or understand the details, virtual restoration, meaning of the decoration, enlargement of small figures, and so on. Storytelling is always evoking, possibly first person, as in the previous dramatization.
The most beautiful object that my family gave me is this gold disc fibula, following an old tradition. I still remember.
At the end of the hologram, the object switches off. Everything is dark. So a new cycle starts. Again, wait.
Completed the
Yes.
time available, so just for you
Yeah,
to
yeah,
know.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, of course. Thank you, Antonia. But I am finished. I leave you some references if you are curious about this kind of topics and go a little bit deeper inside. Some recent articles about multisensory museums. This is about also neuroscience applied to the cultural heritage valorization. And here are some other references. So I hope that the presentation was clear, and thank you very much. If you have any question, I am of course available.
Thank you very much. We already have some questions, so just for matter of time, I would also give the floor to the other speakers, and then we can have a discussion together. I just tell you the questions, they are in the chat. Do you develop these experiences in-house, or are you working with external companies for developing all the contents? And then if you considered gamification for such experiences.
Yes, of course. In this case, this experiment was inside the European project. So we developed in-house this kind of solution, but in the partnership there were also some creative industries, and we collaborated with these partners. So it's yes, a mixed approach, let's say. And if the other question was sorry.
If you consider the already gamification for these experiences.
Yes, of course. We usually deal with gamification techniques in all our installations. In fact, many of the technological solutions, for instance, the use of Kinect in gesture-based VR interaction is inspired by the game world. So yes, it's really some very important connection with games.
Great. So I see that the question also comes from one of the companies participating in the BRIDGESMEs project. And so we will be happy to invite you also to speak at the end if you want. So thank you very much, Eva, for this immersive journey into your work and the work of the Institute. Thank you so much. It was amazing. And now I would go to the second speaker, who is Bruno Fanini, a researcher at the CNR Institute of Heritage Science, and he will present us a very unique experience. The software ATON, which is an open source and of course open access framework and software that can be used by everyone, and this is part of the research infrastructures that we have at the National Research Council, and that are also available to companies for use, for any kind of use, exploitation. So I think this is also another piece of very important work that can be really used and exploited by companies. So the title is an open source framework to accelerate the creation and development of liquid web 3D, web, XR, extended reality applications for heritage science. So Bruno, the floor is yours.
Okay, so first of all, thank you very much for this invitation. I'm a researcher at the same institute. I'm a colleague of Eva and Enzo, and I work mainly on interactive 3D, including Web 3D, but also immersive VR and spatial interfaces. So today, I'll go through very quickly through this open source ATON framework. So first of all, what is ATON? So ATON is an open source framework developed by our institute. First of all, it allows you to present and interact with complex 3D data online, so digital replicas, 3D reconstruction, but also point clouds and much more. but directly online, so using a standard web browser without any kind of installation required. But then also allows you to create this liquid web 3D WebXR application targeting heritage sites. Liquid means they automatically adapt to the final device, so you can consume these applications experiences from any device, starting from a smartphone up to workstation, museum kiosks, up to XR devices, even the high-end devices that we usually are accommodated for. It's modular, so you can actually there is high level of customize. You can customize the framework for your needs, and most of all is built on very large open ecosystems and international web standards for high interoperability with other systems, with other services, with other frameworks. So here you can see in these videos some of the built-in tools that are offered by the framework, including the possibility to interact directly with lighting on these objects, for instance, and collections. You can see you have tools for semantic annotations, measurements. You have the possibility to use, of course, different devices. You have also the possibility to collaborate with other people directly in the same space. There is the possibility to experience together in the same space with other participants that are in another part of the world. And there are a lot, of course, of features that I'm not going into much detail, but in the lower right here, you can also see also the possibility to inspect complex volume rendering techniques like with the use of Gaussian splats, for example. So that gives another level of rendering directly inside your browser. And of course, you can consume all these experiences and other application inside the browser directly using these built-in tools, okay, that are already there, integrated, and you can actually use directly without developing anything, okay? But the problem is that, of course, the problem is that, of course, there is a lot of diversity, especially in the last 5 years. We had a lot of national and international projects with different communities that, of course, have very different requirements. So how to handle these issues, of course, because everyone has a different needs. So ATON as a framework offers this possibility of a plug-and-play architecture where you can actually develop very quickly your own solution with custom user interface, your custom logic, and much more, and then directly plug and play this solution inside the framework using all the features, of course, offered by ATON. And this also has a very familiar environment for who is working in this context, especially for Web3D developers. And this turned out to be, for several projects, an accelerator. So including also SMEs and creative industries that are working with the framework. And here we have some recent examples, like a few pilots in a few national projects like H2 IOSC, but also court cases in changes. Then we have also European projects like Perceive and other national and international projects that are using this plug-and-play model to develop very quickly custom solutions. So here we have just a few examples of what there are a lot, of course, but this is just a few examples. This one is coming directly from the Perceive European project. And in this case, as you can see, is targeting the diagnostic domain. So you have this tool that allows interactive and immersive discovery of this diagnostic processes right in the browser on multi-layered collections that can be also stay directly in the cloud, for instance. And in this case, you can see there is a very specific target. Another example is here we go to architecture, is another project that is called Metamic. And in this case, we have access to a network of these interactive spaces directly online. And these are not usual spaces, but they are reconstructions directly coming from the unbuilt architectures of Michelangelo. And you can actually navigate through all these spaces, and each space is also provides collaboration. So you can see other participants directly in these spaces. And you can imagine the use for classrooms, or they can be transformed into discussion spaces, and also group tours around this space and explaining all these reconstructive architectures of Michelangelo. Another example, as you can see, they are very, very different. Another example is a recent pilots in the H2IOSC project, where you have this suite of services that are able to capture all these interactions coming from remote installation, remote applications, and you can capture them. And then you have these advanced tools to visually understand what happened, or what's happening in another part of the world. And all these tools, once again, they are based on ATON, and so they are accessible everywhere online. In this case, of course, targeting a specific target of analysts, of course. Even in this case, it's modular, so you can customize the pipeline. And you have access, as you can see from the videos, to this very advanced visual and immersive analytics toolkit in this case, that they are able to support the understanding of interaction patterns and complexities of interaction with digital replicas and other also interactive application, including also gamified experience. So to conclude, all this is just a selection, of course, of this example. You can see directly on the website a lot of other projects. You can see, you will feel and perceive the diversity of these projects. And these are also driving the framework. They are driving the framework, and that is rapidly growing. Just a few numbers here. We are now in our main instance here in Rome. We are hosting more than 70,000 3D models that are accessible everywhere from any device in the world. Then, of course, we have this plug and play model that that proved to be an accelerator for, as I said, SMEs and of course creative industries and also independent developers. And then we have also the open transnational calls or European calls, like for instance the one from Iris, that you can directly access the service that is already configured, and you can access directly all these features through these calls with your own projects, with your own ideas. Okay. And then we have, of course, also a community that is open, is international on Telegram. You can see here there is also QR code. It's a very vibrant community, so you can join the community, and you can ask whatever you want, and also sharing your ideas about something that you have in mind that you want to create using this framework. And then, of course, there is all the documentation for developers, and also, of course, the official repository of this open source framework. So thank you very much. I hope I was in time.
Yes, Bruno, thank you so much. I think it's so interesting what you also presented, especially for the companies participating in the project and for other companies, because these are infrastructures that can be really used and exploited. So I would also invite our SMEs, our participants, if you have any interest to explore and to see how ATON can be used, and in general the research infrastructure provided by the CNR can be used for you to develop new products or to experiment. I would invite you to contact also us or our speakers directly, because we are really keen to make this more and more used by companies. So this is the real aim of research in this sense. So Bruno, thank you so much again. If you have any question for the speakers, you can write it in the chat. And then I will go on with the other speaker that we have. This is my colleague Enzo D'Annibale. He will talk about immersive and interactive visualization systems for digital models for museum audiences.
Hello, I'm Enzo. I'm a colleague of Bruno and Eva. Currently, my role is in laboratory. In my role in laboratory, I'm focused on developing and testing immersive media workflows that connect photogrammetry, virtual reality environment, and interactive projection system. As you can see on the screen, that's one of our installation that we made for the 100 years old of the CNR, and all the structure is designed in our laboratory and product, and even the interactive elements that you can see in the middle, and that's a typical immersive installation that where we are engaged. We used to work with a multidisciplinary approach in the project always. So usually we can combine different kind of technology, like photogrammetry, as I said, but computer vision, usually physical computing, and of course nowadays the AI is a really important role in some kind of operation. So I can show you a sort of slideshow of some different technology that we are using in the years, and everyone is combined in this slide, but we can go to more and on each arguments. Talking about immersive, we deal with different kind of immersive contents. Contents from photograph or 3D scanning, or simple video production but in a panoramic format, or 3D immersive space, and starting from a photograph, and especially sometimes we work with a high resolution panoramic photograph, that it's a really good source to have a realistic reproduction of the world in a VR system. It can be really high. We can read the really small detail in the object, and if we use appropriate software, appropriate device, it can be a really nice experience for a museum exhibition. Starting always with the panorama, we can also build a 3D model and a different immersive solution to have immersive video projection of the world. And that's an example that we produced during a summer school with students, and just to show you how we are working and what kind of instrument we are using. Of course, as a research center, we have a lot of nice and expensive instruments, but one of the goals is to find a way to reproduce the method even with the low cost and low cost instrument. And of course open source software when it is possible. That's a result of a procedure of really low cost. That was a result of a low cost procedure, quite impressive. And that's other work that we are working on. And as you can see, the first approach for us is the documentation of the cultural heritage, but our model can be used also in a film production or in a game in a game production. That's an extensive survey of a city that we are experimenting right now, or an a reproduction of an archaeological site starting just from 1 minute of video. So as you can see, we are working a lot with the immersive virtual reality, using different instruments, producing 3D model, and when we can use the same procedure for different software, different platform. In that case, you can see the platform that I developed and the platform that Bruno just showed, that are using the same data and for different goal. Sorry, going back. Of course, when we are talking about the visualization, for us it's really important to have a real-time visualization, especially when we are talking about museum installation, interactive installation. So we are designing and developing software in-house to create a custom solution to visualize immersive world, interactive world. And that's a small experiment in our lab. As you can see here, even with just 3 projectors, you can create a sort of cave, even if it's not stereoscopic. I will show you some more video. About interaction, also we are working a lot to have more and more devices, because it's quite important to have different solutions to interact with the object, with the data, and the information that the scene can contain. That's one of our installation. On the left side, we can see the hologram that Eva showed before, and of course we start from the design and the accessibility of the structure and of the interaction device. It's fundamental. And we are working a lot with the simulation and a small view of different kind of sensor that it can be used inside the custom interactive installation. And usually we work at home. That's another complex system. When we are working with immersive, we can of course have immersive visualization, but in that project we worked also for immersive audio distribution inside the room, and that's a really important aspect of the immersive feeling of the user inside the space. That's other example of our installation that we made during the war, the last 2 years, and we use always to start from 3D reconstruction of the site, and then the design also of the physical infrastructure, so the container of the technology, and that's some example. So using different kind of interaction, different kind of visualization technology in the Museum of Argento now. we have a completely new approach to the cultural heritage. Even if in that case we use a lot for one of installation, we use a tool for panoramic immersive product creation. And as one of the last example is projection mapping on open space, and even in that case we worked together in different projects to create, simulate, and product immersive content for a large space, a real space. At the end, another kind of immersive space, of course, is the platform of Metaverse, and we tested a lot of kind of Metaverse, but as Bruno showed, we have in-house as a CNR ISPC the next level of Metaverse soon. And yeah, I can stop here with the collaboration with Bruno, because one of the dream is to bring the project that I made usually physically also directly in a virtual world, so to be able to share maybe easily and faster with the rest of the world. So that's one. Just the last, it's we are developing software and other solution to make it possible to create data and visualize data in a different way, interactive way. As you can see here, the analysis of the researcher is the user can discover interesting data that the researchers found just using the natural interaction of the hand in front of the on the screen. So just to close, we are working also to create low-cost and scalable workflow with a focus on the flexibility and accessibility, and we are working a lot for no standard solution. So custom solution with a multidisciplinary approach that helps us to find the best way and hope the best way for the user.
Thank you so much, Enzo. Your presentation was really interesting and I think inspiring for participants, as you see in how many ways you can use these tools that are provided, that are developed by our researchers. So it's really interesting to see the developments and the applications of all this. So we will also send some materials to the participants. If you want to go more in depth, we can send you videos or documents or publications if you want. And again, if you have any comment or question, feel free to share it in the chat, and then we will have some time later to discuss if needed. So now I would thank again Enzo for your presentation. Thank you. And I introduce also the next speaker, and the last but not least, Habibi Minelli from the Meta company group. He will talk about AI-powered contextual learning from training to experience in mixed reality. Okay,
I
thank
was
you
too
so much.
quick to move my mouses, sorry.
Good.
Yeah,
We will
I took
see some applications from the Meta company group. This is a company that is working internationally for developing applications and products for different uses in the cultural industry, tourism industry. But today we will also focus on the aspect of learning, education. So how all those tools can be used to enhance the education process and to make users, students, or people learning more let's say in a more effective process to learn quicker and better. So I don't anticipate, I don't make spoilers, so I give the floor to you, Sam.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for this invitation. It's a privilege to be in this group of panel. This all the presenters that were before me have done so much huge work that for me humbly is really challenging. But you will see the interesting things because this is from industry, and you will, I hope, enjoy it. I don't talk about myself. You find information about me on LinkedIn, so I'm going forward to what is important. First of all, some words about GruppoMeta. GruppoMeta is a technology provider for the creative industries in the three main domains: in the cultural heritage, publishing, in particular educational dimension, and expanding a lot in the education environment, developing environments for learning. And everything we do is coming from research. We do research quite a lot, and we transform everything. All the products you see on this screen are from research. And what you will see about will be about one of these blocks, which is on the bottom is Ubimol, and it is derived from research. And the others are cultural heritage in the cataloging and other topics, but I'm not going too much in details about that. This is a short list of the portfolio of clients. So ministries, cultural agencies, libraries, archives, and many others. So it means that the technology is adopted quite well. I'm entering immediately in the topic. We do research also on what implications are related to using this platform for training. In particular, most of you already know that what we learn in the traditional training procedures is has implications in memory, and training decay quite quickly when we passively use access the knowledge, while when we do things is much better. And in particular, for example, if I teach you how to draw, you understand it and you feel confident with that. You feel as if you are able to draw. But when you take the pencil in the hands and you try it, you learn much more and much faster. And that is the direction. As Eva Pietroni showed to you, the interaction is fundamental. The neuroapplied aspects are fundamental, and the multisensory dimension is fundamental. So that is things that are important. How much important? What is the impacts of not using these technologies in a good way? We experimented, and we know that in some domains you cannot do tests by hand, for example, because it is costly. But if you don't do it, it's much more risky, because most of the risks that are in some domains, so for example, to drop a boat for safety boat, if you are not trained, you are not familiar with it, then you have a high risk. It is in the top 10 risk of not being able to put the boat on in from when there is a disaster. So it's very important to train, but in a cheap way. So these aspects has to do with what it has to do with the neuroscience. I do not know if you are familiar with Daniel Kahneman Nobel Prize 2012, if I'm not wrong, who introduces System 1, System 2 to attitude of our brain. One is automatic. System 1 is trained by training something that is habitude, and it is not something that there is 100% consciousness when you do it. You are not focused on it. And it is typically used in dangers or in normal activities where the attention could be very low. And if our brain was a coin, the majority of the cases that will fall is the head, so system 1. While system 2 is more logical, more analytical, more on new situations. So, but it is costly because our mind requires a lot of energy to activate this system 2. For example, to learn numbers, to keep numbers in your memory, in a runtime memory. We have 3 to 4 slots of memory to memorize things in a runtime. So it's very difficult. And when there are dangers, typically our brain switches to system 1. Imagine you are landing, or imagine there is an emergency. Then it is quite risky and the impact is huge. So it becomes that these technologies in some environment are must-have. It's no way. And not because they are particularly fancy or in gaming, or gaming is important, of course, but because you need to use them because they are cheap in comparison to doing it on real. And they provide information. They can overlap on the reality, the information, and there is the convergence of different approaches. Virtual reality, you go into a virtual space. With augmented reality, you overlap the reality with something that is knowledge. And with artificial intelligence, more and more, you have many more other options on top of that. It could be a dialogue. You dialogue with something, and the system answers to you in a effective way. Take into account that there are, we know that having a dialogue with artificial intelligence has implications with hallucinations. So this is not a trivial point. And in any way, we also have other aspects that are very important. That, for example, we, as is one of the use cases, we show that the memory storage in our brain during the training on this improves quite a lot using these approaches. And I will give you an example immediately. We made an A/B test with in plant and system assembly context. So we had 2 subjects, 2 apprentices with the same background, and they had the same senior to answer to. The first has a traditional training material. It was the printed manual for building up a machine, composing with the devices that they had on place. And the second one had instead the same material broken into pieces and using wearable glasses, but transparent ones, so that the person could enter in the machine, check it, and have a look all around. Because in this context, the security is so much important, and the environment, as said also by Eva, is fundamental. You need authenticity that she mentioned, really feel it and see it. And the authenticity in that case is fundamental to also to have see-through technologies. So what happened is that apprentice 1 had no digital glasses, while apprentice 2 had these digital glasses with videos and identification of the hot spots on the object, how to do what, and step by step. So the apprentice 1 took 7 days to build up the machine, apprentice 2 1 day. This is huge in terms of cost effective. And by the way, apprentice one had continuous call up with the senior asking for information because he didn't find the information. Apprentice two instead only once, and the information was updated immediately after with a new video. So while the apprentice one update would to reprint the manual or to reprint the material, but that is huge cost. So the immediate impact is shorten the time to produce something, but that was not our discoveries. Our discoveries were first that the apprentice two got fun, a lot of fun doing it, because it is self-accomplishment. It went to the flow. I do not know if any of you know about the flow of Mihai Csikszentmihalyi author, which means that you get fun, you don't feel the time, you remember for long term, and you feel confident with it. And that is huge amount of effect because it is near to the senior of expertise who learn something or do something. And feeling competence. So apprentice one was more to live up, live out because he didn't like the activities, while apprentice two said, "Oh, I want to continue." The feeling of internal to that stuff would have a huge impact. I wanted to tell about this story because this also. I said also before, I always recall Eva because she really touched all the points, is the multisensory dimension. Multisensory is not only eyes, ears, and touch, but also in some cases, not in this case, emotional and cognitive, because that too is really important. And in gamification, it's hugely used, this aspect. Not here because we didn't put game in it, but might be some time. Other aspects are where to use it, we are asked to contribute in this dimension are practically in two sectors that is optimal, which is infrastructures, airports, ports, airways, highways, maritime, and industry a lot. In these domains, the effect of not using it is hugely costly. And it's very important to be very careful on how you are implanting these solutions, because it should reduce the stress, and in some cases it doesn't, because of what was said as authenticity, and in some users it causes bad effect on equilibrium, on cognitive and other aspects. So it's very important to do it correctly. And it is very important to have use it in context also where the things need to be repeated quite a lot. For example, you need to learn how to put a boat in this out, or to activate a system that is complex to do with different actions to set up. So we applied, for example, in the tourism dimension. For you see here two slides what is the reality that has one of our clients that you will see in the end. But effectively is, for example, to have a laboratory where different subjects enter into play, but they could be remotely connected. Our company is almost entirely remoted because we have different offices in Italy. We have an office in Pisa, one in Rome, one in Porto Potenza Picena, one in Naples, and we need to connect each other. What traveling to the same place is costly and environmentally not that perfect for the pollution. And in this case, the students of this context are the ETS Turismo Veneto, and they are in different towns. There is Chioggia, Jesolo, Venezia, and other towns that they for traveling they might have problems. And also is the having environment for simulation of activities to do, which is very important, so that you do not sometimes need really to have a meetup in a place, but you can create a context, a situation, and on that develop something and bring people inside that. This is it is Academy Veneto, what we already developed for them. Next phases of research we are doing, this is with CNR and Thalia. In particular, Thalia is a startup developing natural language processing. And what we are developing here is bringing to a new dimension artificial intelligence in a way that the context is collaborating with us, with telling us more about what is happening, what could be the situation, and this particularly in tourism dimension, because we go in a place and we would like to know what is that statue, is that Michelangelo's, or can I know something I want to know about that? And this is the model here is to have information about that. I'm concluding. One of our clients is, of course, defense, and defense is using it for training the pilots. The pilots have not that much time to stay at the desk to study. They need to study and then to have the information recalled on the core of their memory, and that is artificial intelligence applied. So we have applications for them so that the learning element is micro-learning, is provided at a time before they forget it. This is huge because we have seen that the percentage of memory in long term is quite effective. Imagine you are repeating, if you repeat continually the things that you already know and you know that you know, it's useless time, you get bored. But if you receive the information right before you forget it, and just that you are so and so, it makes you more confident. It makes you put in the memory and shortens the time you need to check that. And so that is very important. And other subjects. And ETS Academy is one of the most recent ones, for which we have also developed the platform for training with combining artificial intelligence, virtual reality, metaverse all together. One important aspect, and that I've finished, is that it's very important to take into account the negative sides of what we develop. And for example, when you develop a car, you need to develop the belt for security. It might be too late if you don't. Okay, the risks and the impact are huge. So all these technologies are touching quite nearly the security, safety, and accessibility, and also compulsiveness. And so it's very important that whoever develops the, let's say, gaming, takes this into account, because these are highly impactful in this domain and typically are not so much considered, while we take extreme care about that. So I also put accessibility. But remember, these technologies might have effect that you do not consider and might not go under the horizon. That's it.
Wow, thank you so much, Sam, for all those information and for showing the projects in the education field. So it's very interesting, again, all this. And also thank you for focusing also on the negative aspects, because this links also with the approach of the BRIDGESMEs project that is included in a framework of Industry 5.0. And Industry 5.0 has one of the pillars which is very important for us, human, and it is the human-centered approach. So
Absolutely.
it's so important to really see how technology can be helpful for people, but also not harmful. And this happens sometimes. So we were talking about some aspects like compulsive behavior and like being lost, let's say, in this
Absolutely
different reality.
But also there is, as artificial intelligence is we're in a convergence time. all these are coming together, the virtual reality, or augmented reality and other things at the same time. You might at the moment be in a virtual dimension or in augmented dimension, but if you are in an area where security is important, security is in all dimensions of security. Imagine you are asking a question to the bot, what should I do in this context? And the bot gives you an hallucination that brings you to the wrong decision. And if that has cultural tourism, I don't think it's a huge amount of damage, but if it has to do with a kind of action on the reality outside, that could be dangerous. And so it's important to put it as default in the first activity, to take those things in particular, because as also said previously, neuroscience can really deviate our actions from what we would like them to be. So it's important to really to take those into account.
Yeah, thank you so much for pointing this out. So important. So I don't know if the participants want to take the floor, so you're also allowed to do so. And I have put some links and resources already in the chat, but we will send you the materials and also the contacts of the speakers, because of course you are invited to take contact and to create collaborations if you want with the companies and researchers speaking today. I see that in the chat there is no further question. So let me just, for having a little bit of fun, I will show you myself having fun at one of the events in Siena, in Italy. It's just to have fun. So I was actually lost in the virtual reality in that moment. So we need to also, of course, take care of all the implications, and the neuroscience really helps us a lot, as Sam was pointing out. So I think we have concluded our time. Yes, Sam, please go on.
Yeah, just to mention, I'm not listing I've seen the wonderful videos. I didn't put them on, but we also developed our sister company, ATT, produced, for example, the Divina Commedia in virtual, which is very famous, also acquired by RAI, Italian Broadcasting. And here we have a lot here. The important thing I wanted, my message was mainly to the fact that there are domains where these technologies are an added value. In some others that are the unique value, because it's the only way, as also showed by previous presenters, is the only way to add the layer on top of it. Is the only way to show something that is history. So if you see the object, you don't see much more. But if you give up a layer, you see a little bit more, and then you can create a story. You can create an experience. So if that is the scope, that is really extremely valuable. It's not just something that we put on display because we have fun with it. That is excellent too, but effectively it's probably in some cases the only way to have that information put together and to navigate the knowledge in a new way and layers of knowledge. So that's a huge opportunity. In our case, we have done it for in tourism, cultural tourism, for the Veneto Institute of where students are the next professionals of winery, hospitality, restaurants, and others, and they need these technologies to train themselves in a faster way, in a more effective way. So that effectively is the dimension that is arising a lot, and of course there is one point that is very difficult, I think, for all the participants here, is the fact that we have as competitors Fortnite and other things that are so much super graphical, And while that point is difficult because it's very expensive. The order of magnitude is more than 10 times the ones that the companies can afford. But effectively, it is a new dimension of market, industry, and research.
Yeah, exactly. So, and also we are focusing today on cultural industries and tourism industry. However, what you showed and what also the other speakers showed, it's something that can be used also in other industries, especially when we talk about education. It is really useful also for the other sectors. So, because in the project we have like automotive sector or electronics or aerospace, so other sector completely different from the cultural one. However, those tools are like universal. You can use it for training people in different sectors, also in the mechanics and so on. So it can be really a tool to enhance the processes and reduce the costs for enterprise, because time is also a cost for a company. So it's so important to find ways to reduce the cost and enhance the effectiveness and enhance the user experience, both for the internal employers, but also employees, but also for the final users. So there are a lot of implications that also deal with Industry 5.0 and human-centered approach, resilience and sustainability that are really linked with what we discussed today. I would ask to the other speakers if you want to integrate what we are saying.
Yes, I really compliment Sam for your presentation. It's rich of topics and perspectives. I was thinking about the challenge that immersive virtual reality offers the users today, because of course the immersive VR head-mounted display are very powerful devices, and they are really promising. However, in my experience, most of the application are not so good, especially in terms of perceptive aspects, because we have some constraints in terms of resolution, especially if we use standalone devices, so not Oculus connected to a PC, but standalone devices. So we speak in terms of immersion, but the resolution is very often not sufficient, and also the quality of the rendering of a virtual environment is not so good as in a desktop application or in applications enjoined through other kind of devices. So it's a fantastic technology, but still with some problems, so not only in terms of visualization, but also in terms of interaction, that sometimes is very difficult, and it's not simple to live long experiences. You can dress for some minutes and then. So I would like to know your experience, your opinion, if you think that this is just a technological limit of our days, or if maybe some more development or more efforts could be addressed to these kind of aspects. Of course, it's a question for you, but also for Bruno, Enzo, and the audience.
The question is very important in general and long term. I tell you, some dimension that we explored. One dimension is, let's say, imagine that you have an autistic subject. You know that the autistic subject has a spectrum, and the autistic subject, or other persons that with some psychological tendency might become compulsive in this dimension. So it might be extremely dangerous for them, for some of them, not all of them, because it is much better staying there. The experience is much more powerful there than outside. And we have seen this in some areas of work, and that was something to take away because it might bring people in the wrong perception. Because the virtual, whatever it is, even not that good, let's say like Minecraft, could make them much more comfortable inside the system than outside. So we need to check the reality and not the reality. This is one side. Another side is, you said, after a time of using, it becomes perceptually uncomfortable because some of the users that we have seen has nausea short after that, because it's like going in a train or in the boat that you see the horizon fixed, but you are moving, and this difference generates in your body a discomfort, physical discomfort, because of the equilibrium and these kind of things. So these aspects are really under discussion. I'm not in favor or against things. The only thing I push is be aware, test and check that. And if you don't bring a value, you need to be aware of that. It's not just running because the technology is running, we have to do whatever. We need some kind of sandboxes, let's say. Yeah, I was hearing this term by Antonino Rotolo a few days ago, a professor of University of Bologna. And I really like this term because we need areas where we safely test things before we damage someone. And that is important. But of course, this is so much innovative that in some areas it's necessary. It is the only way to do some things. Let's say if you are doing chirurgical, microscopical actions with robotic, you cannot do it without that. You really cannot do it. It's not possible, no other way. So we need to do research, as you are doing it marvelously, you, Bruno, and so I've seen the job you are doing. It's amazing. Also, Antonia, I've seen it's an excellent team. We really need much more research here, much more tests, much more experiences. If I answered your questions.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Sam. Maybe Bruno could add something to that.
Yeah, just want to add something to integrate what Sam was saying that I agree with. It always is a matter of how you use these technologies, because of course we used headsets since I think it is 10 years that we are using them. And in my experience, it's not about technological limitation, but it's about the experience, how you design the experience. There are plenty of examples of people that even 10 years ago, that used the headset, the environment was not something, specifically realistic or something. And there was people like moved to tears by some specific experiences. So it's not about realism, but how is it depends of course on a specific scenario and experience you want to drive, and of course you have to be cautious how you use these technologies. And of course, on the other hand, you have the ongoing, of course, advancements in technologies. So the headset in this case will be lighter and lighter. They will have a different form factor. There will be different ways of, for instance, on the lenses, there is a lot of going on. There is on the literature, there is that is proof in the literature that in specific case you can read better scientific data if you have stereoscopic vision. So this is something that is in the literature that is proven to enhance the readability of some complex data. Okay. Then of course there is this advancement in technologies, And also the terms like VR, AR, mixed reality, these are okay, these are the terms of today, but of course the current trend is that in the near future there will be no more, this will be, first of all, this is already blurred, the lines between these segments, and then of course in the next few years I think there will be no more difference, because there will be a gradient of different levels of augmentation and immersivity. So it's the usual, you know, gradient that we used in that we see in the literature. So it always, I think, is how we use these devices is the technology limitations is that they are, of course, there are some challenges. We know something, especially in the Web 3D world, because they are much more limited, but they are running very fast, and there will be, in a matter of a few years, there will be no more limitation in that sense. So it's more about the experience that you design, that you create, that drives, you know, something to the final user, in my opinion.
What Bruno said is very, very important for one reason. He said the design of the experience. Effectively, that is really a key of this domain, because the experience, I make you two different examples that is design of experience, but they're completely different. One is in one experiment, this is on papers, scientific papers, you find it, it was training, we were using virtual reality, training people to help someone falling on the ground, feeling bad. So it was measuring the emotional impact and the actions, and how to train people to intervene. Okay, because we know that this is another paper, that when it happens that someone is kidnapped or some way attacked by someone, people don't act immediately, and people think others will act, and this happens in the common reality. So training them to how to deal with it, with emotion, with understanding what is happening, how to act, is positive. So we train it in a virtual domain because we cannot do it in the reality with actors. Sometimes this is something good. Negative is if you make a design experience that could be like a doom, like an area where your deepness of your emotion go to the fear in a deepest way than the reality could ever be. So that could be another dimension, and could be extremely negative. So the designers of the experience are a new business and a new capacity to design. Not only the design of experience, but Bruno said also another thing is to make available the knowledge in a different way. We are overlapping on the information. Is the information visualization that changes the actions that we are having in front of us. It could be that you can layer them in a way that you can understand better the reality than you would if it was only the reality itself. And these aspects are not only the design experience, but also the design of the environment or overlapping of the environment on top of that. Nowadays, we are seeing new artists that are designers of the data visualization. And typically they are women. All the best that I know are women. And because this creative side is growing, I do not know why, but there is a Giorgia Lupi. There is one Italian that is very famous. They are all exhibiting also in the museums. Giorgia Lupi and Federica Fragapane. They are extraordinary. Federica Fragapane has worked with CNR, if I don't remember wrongly, and she represented data, for example, of the crimes in the northern Italy, in a thesis of the for PhD, I suppose, and now is doing marvelous works in the museums, representing, for example, last thing I've seen on her Instagram program was about representing data related to health distribution in the territories. So experience design, but also the design of information provision is connected to that, and is huge. So these aspects are truly research, truly and short-termed within industry, I suppose, because if they are adopted correctly and with proper testing, they could really impact how we train our new generations, how we do our jobs in some domains, let's say with medical or other, or fire or other things that are search and security, search and rescue in the sea, or whatever. These things are immediate to our eyes, but there are other more subtle that could be applied too. So I fully agree with Bruno, if I interpreted correctly, his point of view.
Thank you so much to all speakers and also to the participants. So the participation was really active and we had questions and comments in the chat. So thank you so much to all for joining today.